There's a fashion brand that makes a coat cost more than a used car. Here's the crazy part. It has no logo on it. Nothing. You could walk right past someone wearing it and you would never know. The brand is Loro Piana, and the richest people in the world quietly obsess over it. Precisely because you can't tell. Today I'm breaking down how Loro Piana built a fortune on the exact opposite of loud branding, and how you as a small business owner could steal their exact blueprint and apply it to your business. The Loro Piana family started trading wool in the northern side of Italy back in the 1800s. But the company we know today started in 1924 when a man named Pietro Loro Piana, an engineer, opened a wool mill in a town called Corona in the Piedmont region of Italy. And for decades, they didn't sell any fancy clothes at all. They sold fabric, the raw material, to the best fashion houses in the world. They became the quiet supplier behind everyone else's luxury clothes. Then in the 1970s, two brothers, the sixth generation of the family, took over, Sergio and Pierluigi Loro Piana. And these two split the work perfectly. Pierluigi became obsessed with hunting down the finest raw materials in the world. And Sergio focused on turning that material into beautiful things people actually wanted to wear. 100 years later, they're still making the exact same things in the same corner of Italy. 6 generations. That kind of heritage can never be bought. It can be built, slowly. And that's the first thing I want you to notice. They earned their reputation as the best long before anyone else was watching. There's a fabric so rare that 500 years ago you could be put to death for wearing it, unless you was royalty. It's called vicuña. It comes from a wild animal that lives in the high mountains of Peru, a cousin of the llama. And under the ancient Inca Empire, only the emperors and the royalty were allowed to wear it. They called it the fiber of God. Here's why it's so rare. You can only share a vicuña once every 2 to 3 years, and each animal gives a tiny handful of wool. To this day, it's the most expensive natural fiber on the planet. And Loro Piana built an entire identity by being the ones who can actually get it. A single vicuña coat runs around $9,000. Now here's the lesson for your business. Rarity plus story equals price. If you can offer something people can never genuinely get somewhere else, a rare skill, a rare material, a rare level of care, and you can tell the story of why it's rare, you stop competing on price. You become the only option. So find your vicuña. Lesson number 1. Obsess about your materials. You just saw how far they'll go for vicuña, but that same obsession runs through everything Loro Piana touches, and it's the beating heart of the brand. They are obsessed with the raw materials, not the marketing, not the packaging, the raw material. They travel to Mongolia for the softest baby cashmere, taken from the very first, finest undercoat of a young goat. They built their own herds of sheep in Australia and New Zealand to grow wool so fine they trademarked it as the gifts of the kings. They run their own labs just to test and grade fibers that other companies or brands would call it already perfect. This is the level of obsession we're talking about. Chasing the best material on earth, no matter how far they'll go for it. So here's what it means for you. Whatever you do, plumbing, renovation, detailing, the quality of your raw materials is part of your brand. The tradesperson who quietly uses better materials, better wood, better pipes, and makes that part of the story is the one who earns a premium. Cheap inputs cap your price forever. Obsessed over what you build with. Second lesson, and this is the big one. It's what Loro Piana is famous for. They call it quiet luxury. There's no giant logo, no flashy print screaming the brand's name. From the outside, it looks plain, simple, almost boring. But that is the entire point. The quality is so high that the people who know. It's a quiet signal for a specific kind of customers. The people who say, I don't need to prove anything to you. And that turns out to be one of the most powerful positioning in all of luxury. Because when you stop shouting, you attract the right people who value substance other than noise. And those people, they pay the most and they stay the longest. For your business, here's the translation. You do not have to be the loudest marketer in your town. You don't have to undercut everyone or plaster gimmicks on every ad. Do work so good that it speaks for itself. Let your work be that billboard. Quiet confidence reads as premium. Desperation reads as cheap. Third lesson, control your quality from start to finish and invest in relationships that last you decades. Loro Piana doesn't just buy fabric and hope it's good. They control the entire chain, from the animal in the mountains all the way to the finished coat in the store. Every step, because they know the finest product is only as good as its weakest stage. And they've worked with the same herding communities in Mongolia and Peru for over 40 years. 40 years. They don't chase the cheapest supplier every season. They build relationships that compound. For you, this is huge. Don't hand off parts of your work that define your reputation to some subcontractor you just met yesterday. Control the parts that matter and build relationships that will last you decades with your suppliers, your crew, your clients. The business that keeps the same great team and the same great suppliers for over 10 years becomes untouchable. Trust compounds. Fourth lesson, built for timelessness, not for trends. Loro Piana describes their style as the new classicism that transcends trends. They're not chasing whatever is hot this season. They make things designed to last, physically last for decades, and stylically never look outdated. That's why a Loro Piana coat becomes handed down. It becomes an investment, not a purchase. And that reputation for lasting is exactly why people trust the brand with thousands of dollars. In your business, resist the urge to chase every brand or every other gimmick. Do the timeless things extremely well. Quality work, honest communication, showing up when you said you was going to show up. Build a reputation for work that lasts and standards that never go out of style. Trends fade, craftsmanship compounds. So let's put it all together. 5 things you could steal from Loro Piana starting today. 1. Obsess over your raw materials. The quality of what you build with is part of your brand. 2. Go quiet. Stop shouting. Let the quality of your work be your proof. And attract those clients who value substance.
Here's what's wild. For 100 years, Loro Piana was doing this quiet. No logo thing, while the rest of fashion got louder and louder. Bigger logos, flashier prints, more noise. And then, a few years ago, the whole world suddenly flipped. Quiet luxury became the trend everyone was chasing. Shows about the ultra-wealthy made stealth wealth famous. Overnight, the plain, logoless look Loro Piana had been quietly perfecting for a century became the most wanted aesthetic on the planet. Think about what that means. They didn't chase trend. They became the trend. By refusing to move for 100 years. That's the payoff of conviction. When you commit to doing something the right way and hold that line long enough, the world eventually comes to you. The trend chasers get forgotten. The ones with real standards get discovered. Don't bend your business to every trend. Build something true and let the world catch up.
3. Control what defines you. Never outsource the parts of your work that make up your reputation.
Now here's the part of the story people don't know. In 2013, the family sold most of the company to LVMH, the biggest luxury group in the world, for around $2 billion. And normally, that's where a brand loses its soul. The suits move in, they cut corners, they chase volume, and the magic dies. But that didn't happen. Loro Piana kept making everything in the same corner of Italy. Same obsession with fiber, same quiet identity. They grew, but they never lowered the bar. The lesson? Growth doesn't have to mean selling out your standards. You can get bigger, take on more, even bring in partners. As long as you refuse to compromise the one thing that made you worth choosing in the first place.
4. Build relationships that last decades. Suppliers, your crew, clients, trust compounds. 5. Built for timelessness. Do the classic things so well that they never go out of style. None of these require a bigger budget. They require standards and the patience to hold them. A family in a small Italian town spent 100 years becoming the best at one thing without ever needing a logo to prove it. You don't need to be loud to be luxury. You don't need to be the biggest to be the best. You need to obsess over quality, stay quietly confident, and let your work speak for you. The most powerful brand in the room is usually not the one that's shouting. If you got value from this, do me a favor. Follow for more of these series, where we break down how the greatest luxury brands in the world think and how you can apply it for your own business. And drop a comment telling me which brand you think I should break down next. See you in the next one.